Good afternoon, people of Earth. We're back with chapter 2 of 7 Types of Ambiguity. The time is 2:12 p.m. and it's still the 1st of November 2025. A pinch and a punch for the first of the month and a scratch and a kick for being so quick. Just saying. What is it today? All Saints' Day in the Catholic religion. Well, you know, Halloween. Halloween has come and gone for another year, and repeat patterns were repeated, for which I am exceedingly livid. But I'll let it go because COVIDian insanities can't do anything about it. The alteration of the human species, and some of them are my closest friends, so I'm a bit grieving actually. The ghastly horror of it all. But anyway, I'm used to living through ghastly horrors. This won't be my first rodeo, it certainly won't be in my last, but you know, the older I get, the less patience I have for ignominies. So there is that. But anyway, on we go. Chapter 2. Why do you say you're here? Dennis? Dennis? Why do you think you have come to see me? Why have I come to see you? Or do you mean, why have I come at this time in my life to see a psychiatrist? Better late than never, I guess. I didn't start seeing a certified, psychiatrist until I was 25 years in therapy, 30 years all told, because I started with self-help books while I was still married. Anyway, I think I was 30 when I started seeing my first psychiatrist. Because first of all, I took myself off to Relationships Australia and saw a counsellor there. Oh, she was a lovely woman. She was so kind to me. And then I think it was about 6 months later, because I only had a few sessions with her for about 2 or 3 months. So I think it was a bit after that I went to see my first psychiatrist, and he was fairly bloody useless actually. Didn't listen to a thing I said, slept through most of my sessions, and was a boundary violator, wanting me to have family therapy with my mother, who was the source of all my problems at that time, interfering viciously in my marriage and subsequent divorce, and just being completely vicious. He wanted to have family therapy, but I said, "Are you out of your mind? She's a complete narcopath. Why would I want therapy with her? I know exactly who she is and what demon I'm dealing with. It's me needing psychotherapy to cope with my own reactions to other people and, let things go and not affect me quite so much." Well, it's been a long journey on that. A long, long journey. Through strangulations later, I might add, and years of treachery and being let down by people I thought were true friends and even lovers, and ultimately, the estrangements of my 2 daughters. A lot of abandonment and a lot of loss and a lot of grief, for which I'm still in therapy, people of Earth. Let's be real here. Could have done without all of that, piling onto my already complex traumas from, the child sexual abuse and the strangulations in my 30s. I could have done with just one loyal true friend who keeps their word to me and stands with me. But, can't even have that apparently. It's disgusting. Anyway, where were we? Reading stories. Why have I come to see you? Or do you mean, why have I come at this time in my life to see a psychiatrist? Well, I'd be interested in your answers to both questions, but let's start with the general and work our way into the particular. I like to be called Dennis. What do you mean? It's your name, isn't it? The message you left said Dennis Mitchell. No, you're right. It's my name, but yes. I don't hear it much. I haven't heard it regularly for a long time. At work, actually, it was this way at school too. And even my wife. You're married? People who don't know me well. People who want to give the impression of knowing me well. I'm just thinking out loud as I go. Yes, I have a tendency to do that. Gets me in trouble sometimes, but the truth remains the truth no matter how many ways you cut and splice it. Ah, Kermie's on his swing. Happy. Happy little birdie, Kermie. Bo's happy too. Mama T's kind of happy. She knows exactly what demons she's dealing with now. She's seen the true colours. It's horrific and an ontological shock, but I've seen it and now I know it. I can't unknow it. So, just awful, just beyond awful. That's a good start. Please don't patronise me, Dr. Klima. I wasn't, and you can call me Alex if you prefer. Fine, Alex. You can call me Dennis. What were you called at school and then at work by people who wanted to give the impression of knowing you well? Although I have never, at least as far as I can remember, invited anyone to call me that. What? Mitch. People have always called me Mitch. They abbreviate Mitchell? Yes. And in doing so, they give the impression to an objective observer of some kind of real intimacy. Just going to turn on the fan, people. And you're saying that it's been a long time since that intimacy was genuine? Yes, I am saying that, and it's been a long time since there was an objective observer. Is that why you're here? Is that why you've come to a psychiatrist? I'm here, Alex. I'm here, I think, because I've been crying. Recently, I've been crying in a manner and with a frequency that is not consistent with being a functioning adult male. And how have you arrived at your measure of how much a functioning adult male ought to cry? Alex, I'm really not here to see how smart you think you are. Maybe you can help me, and maybe you can't. Maybe it was a big mistake to listen to her. I'll admit that I asked her. She's one of the few things I don't feel bad about. Nothing ever happened anyway. That's none of my business. It's up to me to tell you isn't it up to me to tell you what's your business? The fractiousness of a new mental patient testing out the waters. Don't you just love it? La frisson. Don't worry, babies. They break you in slowly over 30 years. But it's all good. I'm not being facetious. Well, I kind of am, I guess. But I just kind of I can see the behaviours and I recognise it well. I meant, Dennis, that I'm not here to make moral judgments. Really? Really? What if you thought I was about to commit a crime? then I'd have to contact the police. But that's for legal reasons, not for moral ones. Or do you not judge me because you're one of her clients? No, wait. You can get out of the whole thing by insinuating that she's a patient and then refusing to confirm or deny it. I can tell you, Dennis, that that's none of your business. Brilliant answer. That's what I would say in your position. But in your position, I wouldn't be able to resist moral judgments. Well, you'll have to trust me. Trust you to an extent. Alex, I'm not very trusting these days. You'll forgive me? Is that why you're here? Do you want someone to forgive you? How many people would I have to have harmed before you couldn't help but judge me? Are you about to confess to a crime, Dennis? Sex with a prostitute is not a crime. I told you, I didn't end up doing anything with her. Why do you think that's my business? Dr. Klima, do you have any idea at all who I am? Barely. You seem to know more about me thus far. Are you in touch with her? I'm really not at liberty to discuss her. You wrote those letters. You spearheaded the campaign to warn the public against the dangers of managed care. Yes. Is that why you're here? I worked to promote it. That was part of my job. I looked to promote my own personal interest through a complicated scheme which required the widespread implementation of managed care. I see. Do you still want to treat me? Are you able to treat me dispassionately? Why not? As long as you are human, I am licensed to treat you. Please, Alex, Dr. Klima, I'm serious. So am I. There are various religions and political ideologies out there for people who can't help but judge before they understand. Psychiatry is neither a religion nor an ideology, unless you subscribe to the big pharma mandates. But I've long ago forgiven my doctor for that, because he did right by me when it came to getting my mind clean and clear, just in the nick of time before the COVIDian madness was infiltrated upon our human species, Homo sapiens sapiens. Dear Goddess. It's funny how my angels and spirit people literally save me, always at the 11th hour, just in the very nick of time. Sometimes on my last breath, when I'm on the threshold between life and death, people of Earth, they step in. It can be that humbling and terrifying. Fortunately, they haven't done that to me for a while. Waited till the very last breath, and that moment of acceptance and acquiescence. They've been giving me early warnings lately. Well, for the last 10 years or so. To my angels, who protect me as best as possibly they can, given their incorporeal and supernatural and not confined to human limitations and physicalities and the problems that arise from trying to be spiritual while trapped in a hellscape of epic proportions in human flesh suits. Makes life very fraught at times, very fraught indeed, people of Earth. Chapter 3. Are you a Catholic, Dennis? I was brought up in a Catholic family, but I'm not a practicing Catholic. No? Why? Is this some sort of fancy detective work on your part? Or do you have a problem with Catholics? What are you? What kind of a name is Klima? I'm a Czech Jew. Does that matter to you? No, I've no problem with Jews. Yet you tell me you have no problem with Jews and say nothing about Czechs. Clever. And a valid point, I might add. I don't have a problem with Czechs or Jews. What I mean is, I tell you I'm a Czech Jew, and you focus on the Jew and ignore the Czech. Is this the way it's going to be all the time? Semantic posturing dressed up as therapy? You described yourself as a Czech Jew, not as a Jewish Czechoslovakian. The Czech qualified the Jew, not the other way around. Your choice of words. I love this guy. He's my future husband. He's got a brain and an attitude. A man with a brain and an attitude and courage to stand up to an authoritative figure is a real man. Just saying. That's a very good answer. It's intelligent, and it places the responsibility back in my court. Responsibility for what? Why are you grading my answer? Responsibility for your anger. My anger? The anger you direct at me. You said you want to talk to someone, and I think that's right, but you also want to confess. Is that why you ask me if I'm a Catholic? That's not the only reason I ask. You heard of Vatican II? We don't have a problem with Jews anymore. The Pope doesn't. Oh, and I do? You've got a problem with this one, but I'm not saying it's because I'm Jewish. So why do I have a problem with you? I don't know yet, Dennis. What makes you say I do? Because you're angry with me and I haven't earned that yet? Yet? We're still at an early stage in your treatment. You seem uncomfortable confiding your vulnerability to me, but you persist. You are compelled to press on. You feel you need some kind of absolution, but it's not for weeping like a child. That's just your ticket in here. Is it perhaps for seeing a prostitute? We didn't do anything, for God's sake. Is this some kind of liberal revenge for promoting managed care or working in the market? If you'll just give me a chance to talk and take a break from your constant need to impress yourself with your own sophistry, you might learn something. You don't need to punish me for managed care. I've been punished already. It's been taken care of. Are you angry with me, Dennis? Yes, I'm angry. I wanted to talk to somebody because I thought it would help me. And your idea of helping me, maybe this is all psychology is to look at my random choice of words and simplistically, pathetically categorize me, all my feelings, and dispose of them with cliches. I don't know and I don't care that you're Jewish. I'm not hung up about sex. But I am highly skeptical of the value of psychiatry. The talking part, anyway. It's a fraud, not a science. Maybe you should just prescribe something. For what exactly? For the crying, you bastard. You have to keep making me say it. I wasn't always like this. It's all right, Dennis. Jesus, I'm I'm so embarrassed. I'm 44 years old. I haven't cried in front of someone, in front of another man, since I was a kid. I probably should be doing it then. It's good to cry. Get it all out. Let it all hang out, babies. It's a good release of spiritual build-up of tension as well as emotional tension. Cry. Don't be ashamed of your tears. You were given emotions for a reason. Use them or lose them, or become an insensate, unfeeling, psychopathic, dead inside, zombie, nanobot, which is what our society wants us all to be. Part machine, inhuman. Fight for your right to cry, people of Earth. Feel all the feels. Be authentic. Be real. It's the ultimate revenge against our oppressors, by the way. Tell me about your life as a child. Were you born in Melbourne? Yes, and I finished school here. When my father was laid off, my parents moved to Mildura. I didn't go with them. I stayed in Melbourne and went to university. What did your father do for a living? He was a painter. I said he was laid off. That's not strictly right. He used to do contract work, almost exclusively for Carlton and United Breweries. He painted their pubs. He got older and slower, and they got someone younger to be him. Did your mother work? No. Why do you smile at that? She didn't work while my father was painting, but when they let him go and my parents moved from Melbourne to Mildura, it was my mother that found work for both of them. What did she find for them? Together they managed a caravan park. You said you went to university here. Yes. What did you study? I did a science degree and then went on to do a PhD in theoretical physics. I was seduced by the elegance of physics, by its generality and its economy of assumption. Stupidly, I also thought it would make me eminently employable. What was your PhD on? It was on photon fission in the electric field of a heavy atomic nucleus. That sounds very impressive. It's not really. Quantum electrodynamics allows you to calculate the extent to which light can scatter light. That is, the extent to which photons can scatter photons, and related to that, the extent to which an electric field can cause photons to split or to fuse. They're what are called fourth-order effects and are very small. Anyway, such calculations are fair grist for the theoretical physics PhD mill. What did you do after that? I looked for a job in academic physics. I looked for over a year in Melbourne and other parts of Australia, overseas. I couldn't get one. The world was in recession and theoretical physicists were not wanted. Eventually, feeling utterly defeated, I went to stay with my parents for a while. Just want to see what my beautiful boys are doing. Can't see little Bo. Bo! Where's my little Bo? Bye-bye. I literally can't see him, but he has to be in there. He must be tucked behind where, in perspective behind Kermie's swing. Oh well. very odd. I wonder where he is. It's very odd, people of Earth. Ah, I just saw him move. He's in there. It's not like he can get out anyway. But yeah, it was just odd that it was like the invisible cockatiel. Kermie, you okay? Good boy. Right, what did you do after that? I looked for a job in academic physics. Oh no, we read that. He went to stay with his parents for a while. Right. I was the first member of my family even to go to university, let alone to get a PhD. And where had it got me? Helping my parents manage a caravan park. Despite everything that has happened to me since, I still remember how hard it was to hold my head upright at that time. Education, intellect were of no value, and since I could not paint a house like my father could, I could not even join the men who had replaced him. I was useless. It was all a little surreal. The weather was warm and sunny and everyone got around in shorts and t-shirts. It was like a summer holiday, only one that I watched, not one I participated in. I was working, but it was not my real life. Most of the time my mind was off somewhere else, and eventually my parents came to understand this. It took a huge argument though, one that saw me clear the kitchen table with my forearm, leaving everything smashed on the floor. My parents have taken to introducing me to the townspeople as Dr. Mitchell, my father even calling me Doc. Well, he's learnt that privilege with a PhD, I might add. They had not understood how much I had meant it when I pleaded with them not to do it, not even to mention to anybody the fact that I had a doctorate, to forget about it. They were just being good parents, proud as parents could be. But I was embarrassed and angered by the title. Embarrassed because doctors of anything, do not manage caravan parks. And angered because learning and research will not furnish even a single room. Only the market will, and not just any market, the stock market. I know what you will say about the stock market, but you are appalled by what you see to be its mad randomness, its essential immorality. To you it's just a giant casino, but there's one thing about it you can't deny. As mad as it might be for the activity of that casino to be what determines the economy, it isn't mad for you to try to get a job as a croupier there. In fact, it might be argued that you would have to be mad not to. I got to driving my parents' ute to the Working Men's Club, getting drunk, sleeping it off in the front seat, and driving home just before dawn. I was doing this a couple of times a week, and that is when I first saw Patricia, the woman I married. She was German. Patricia? It's an unusual name for a German girl, but never mind. Who am I to judge? Although my mother was actually German, but you know, no judgment. Patricia. She was German, a tourist backpacking with her cousin, a couple of Bavarian cowgirls delaying the rest of their lives. She was pretty. I needed someone pretty, and she needed some local colour to write home about. Neither of us at the time had any idea how much the other really needed. She had recently acquired a diploma in physical education, and before getting a teaching job, she had set off with her only slightly less attractive cousin to see the world. Her parents, more particularly her mother, had made quite a bit of money through a chain of ice cream shops. Just keeping an eye on the weather. It's come over very stormy looking now. Might have to rush out and bring the birdie boys on. Her father was an inspector of schools with the Department of Education. Because of me, Patricia and her cousin stayed in Mildura and got jobs picking oranges. After a while, her cousin got bored and moved on. Patricia remained at the caravan park, shacking up with the young manager, the owner's son. That was not the way she put it when she finally wrote home to her mother, needing something to impress her with, to beat her with in their ongoing war. She told her mother she had become involved with a local physicist, a PhD, whose parents were in the hospitality industry. In her next letter, she told her she was pregnant. In the summer heat, with everyone telling me how pretty she was, no plans of my own, no genuine self-esteem to base any plans on, and Patricia wanting badly to have the child, as if to prove something to her mother, we married hastily before the child was born. I was never a practicing Catholic, but my parents were, and with them fearing the disapproval of a small town, it made just enough sense for just long enough for me to marry her. I want you to understand that. The marriage made it impossible to keep real life on hold. I was back in it with a vengeance, married to a pregnant German tourist with all sorts of needs and demands she was only learning to articulate. If you want to tell me what an idiot I am, now might be an appropriate juncture. Dennis, I've heard of people doing far more self-destructive things than marrying someone impulsively out of a sense of obligation and perhaps out of a need for esteem. What do you mean, need for esteem? You said Patricia was very pretty. Yes. Well, in addition to being attracted to her, I am assuming that her attraction to you added to your self-esteem, particularly given the choice of men that she would have had and would have been used to having. Yes, it would also have felt good to have your parents and everyone else around you see how well you had done, the all-conquering hero, at least in one area. Didn't it feel good to bask in the reflected glory of her attractiveness when you went out somewhere with her? Yes, it did, at first. I had almost forgotten about that. You see, however much of a mistake you're going to tell me it was to marry her, however much hindsight suggests that, atypically for you, you didn't properly think through what you were getting into, I want to suggest how understandable it is. I don't know that not thinking properly is so unusual for me, Alex. Come on, Dennis. You've got a PhD in physics. You must have the capacity to think extremely well. You have to admit that. A lot of good it's done me. We'll get to that. You see, though, how all your roads lead you to self-blame and guilt. Yeah, so what are you trying to say? Are you saying I'm depressed? Well, we have to consider the full battery of criteria, and I don't yet know whether they're met in your case, but that's what you think, isn't it? Dennis, let me put it this way. Depression is the most underdiagnosed illness in the Western world. How do you know that if it's so underdiagnosed? Do you still think your reasoning is faulty? You haven't answered my question. How do I know depression is the most underdiagnosed illness in the Western world? Occasionally, I take public transport. Nobody has ever taken the Glen Waverley line who has ever taken the Glen Waverley line for even 15 minutes could dispute it. But I want to get back to you. You mustn't be afraid to be diagnosed as depressed or as having been depressed. If you are ashamed or afraid of the label, we'll have to break that down as quickly as possible, because that denies you even the possibility of relief. As for that matter, does ignoring the mitigating factors in your apparently flawed decision to marry Patricia. It's in your interest to say that everyone is depressed, and it's in your interest to excuse me for marrying someone I didn't really know. You shouldn't marry someone you don't know. It's that simple. Yes, you shouldn't marry someone you don't know. I'll grant you that. But in return, I ask you to suspend judgment on whether, at least in your case, as you've described it, it is really that simple. Dennis, you use all the power of an admirable intellect to attack us both. When you refer to my interests, you're referring to my economic interests. You don't really mean that. You have told me that you weep like a child. Maybe I can help you. I think I can. Maybe I can't. But either way, you must know that your pain is not my investment. I have no chance of helping you if you suspect I'm trying to cheat you. I'm sorry. That's quite all right. Let's return to your marriage. Yes, I better bring the birds in. Maybe a little bit longer. How many pages have we got to go? We don't want to be in the middle of a fearsome electrical tornado type storm rushing birdies in, do we? There's no thunder yet, but yeah, there's a real shift in the atmosphere. I'm going to just pause there because I have one job, and that is to protect my children, which in this case is my little bird. So I'll be back shortly, and yeah, I hear the thunder rolling through now. Alright, we'll come back to where we cut off at. That's quite alright, and I'll repeat that when I come back. Won't be long, people of Earth. Little man, you're safe. You're safe in sacred space. Unless the real tornado comes and tears the house apart, but you know, I'll believe that when I see it. I mean, we had an earthquake recently. We don't get those very often. It really does feel like the Christian version of the end times apocalypse, but got to move through it. Move through your hellscapes one day at a time, sweet Moses. Right, I'm back, as you can tell. Little Bo is, where are you, little Bo? Over here. Where's little Kermit? Over there. Right, everyone's at their stations. I brought the cages pressed up against the house to try and protect them in case they get blown over, and strong winds too. So a lot of stress trying to dance around the weather gods. That would make a great album title, wouldn't it? Dancing Around the Weather Gods. Oh, where were we? Where did I say we broke off at? That's quite all right. He just apologised for being accusatory. Let's return to your marriage. I think you're being too hard on yourself. You shouldn't blame yourself too much for deciding to marry Patricia, given your circumstances at the time. Your reason was overridden by your emotion. It happens to all of us on occasions. Let me put something to you which, although obvious, might nevertheless help you to see your decision to marry her in a kinder light. People tend to assume that there is a dichotomy between emotion and intellect. In fact, it's really more of a continuum, with emotion at one end and intellect at the other. As we move along this consciousness continuum, away from the emotions, we move further towards the self. The self is highly personalized, highly individualized. It consists of one's inner world, one's thoughts, memories, interpretations of memories, assessments of past events, and of people one has met. It consists of all the information you have managed to retain. It includes extrapolations of the past that you use to predict future events and the outcomes of your interactions with the world. The further along the continuum we go, the less one's consciousness has in common with anyone else's. That's why no two people can have identical minds. There is, however, an irreducible emotional component present even at the cognitive end of this continuum. The structures fashioned by years of experience, contemplation and introspection will always be at least a little damp with emotion. Why the fuck are you telling me this? Bear with me, please. It might help. While there's an emotional component even at the cognitive end of the continuum, there's hardly any rational component at the emotional end. When you're frozen by panic, when you're wildly ecstatic, when you're driving, someone cuts you off, you're completely swamped by emotion. Excuse me. Need another drink, by the gods. The more refined workings of your mind are so soaked that it might be said that, for an instant, you have lost your mind. Are you saying that I had lost my mind when I decided to marry her? Not quite. That's a little extreme. All I'm saying is your capacity to reason was certainly impaired by emotion. How many years of study does it take to come up with that sort of wisdom? Dennis, you were devastated after you got your doctorate to find you couldn't get a job as a physicist. Your self-esteem was shot and you were frightened. You were frightened for the future, your professional and your economic future. Fear is still fear, even when it is fear of humiliation or of impoverishment. It doesn't have to be fear to be eaten by a wild animal. Sorry, it doesn't have to be fear of being eaten by a wild animal. By the gods, I'm having trouble reading sentences today. Maybe I should stop while I'm ahead. Right, here we go. Mama doesn't stop. She doesn't quit. She doesn't yield. She doesn't cede. She soldiers on no matter what, no matter who. I'm a bit mad like that. That's why I'm still in therapy, people of Earth. By the gods, my sight refers to me as a living embodiment of Boadicea, the Icenian queen, and so it is and so it always shall be. Well, that ended badly for her, didn't it? Hemmed in by her own people and slaughtered by the Romans. Hope I don't have a similar fate, since my nearest and dearest can't be trusted anymore. It's a sickening ontological shock. Then along comes Patricia. Prettier than most, she flatters you. She excites many things in you. Lust, hope for a better future. Her existence excites you out of your cognitive mind. When she tells you she is pregnant, all that is left of your functioning or rational mind is your sense of obligation to a vulnerable young woman far from home whom you have made pregnant. This is a waste of time, this continuum of yours. This consciousness continuum would allow you to excuse everybody's behaviour and predict nobody's. What you've constructed is a simplistic fiction, and not a very useful one at that. Dennis, I really am just trying to help you. Whether this continuum construct is useful or not is one thing. But as for it being a fiction, so what? It's probably no more a fiction than are your constructs in physics. Hey, wait a minute. That's not true. Constructs in physics, the fundamental ones like length, time, mass, charge, and so on, are all ultimately defined by specific operations and measurements. Okay, give me an example. How does it work? How do you define, say, mass that way? Mass? Well, there's Mark's operational definition of mass. It's quite complicated though. Do you really want me to try to? No, I don't, but you do make it sound like it's an elaborate abstraction rather than something you can point to or touch. Well, I suppose in a way, yeah. And what about your elementary particles, your electrons and whatever? Alex, that'll take forever. I only want a vague idea. All right, let me see. I guess they're ultimately byproducts of quantum fields. Okay, and what exactly are quantum fields? They're mathematically very abstract constructs which, do you really want me to go into this? No, that's okay. But Dennis, aren't you telling me now that the supposed ultimate constituents of reality are also only elaborate fictions? I'm not saying that at all. Look, it doesn't matter really. My point is that many sophisticated sciences employ constructs that are essentially elaborate fictions. That shouldn't present a problem. It doesn't stop us using these theories to explain or predict. On the contrary, it's through the operations and measurements that define these constructs or fictions that these theories connect with the real world. The problem in psychology is not that the constructs we have are fictions, but that they're not really measurable and that consequently you can't establish empirical relationships between them. I have to say, it's not for want of trying. Unfortunately, Dennis, I'm just looking, my neighbours have got big boxes of clothes and furniture, like someone's moving out of their house, and it's all going to be out in the pissing rain soon, and they don't even care, they're not moving it out of the rain, so whoever's moving out they're quite glad to get rid of, just so they don't give a fuck about this stuff. So humans. Anyway, where were we? I shouldn't laugh, it's not funny. It's a bit awful though, isn't it? Unfortunately, Dennis, psychology is still pre-Newtonian. In its defence though, you will admit that the behaviour of a person is a lot harder to predict than the behaviour of a rock in space. Okay, will you stop? I apologise for the fiction jibe, and yes, I'll admit rocks are more predictable than people, but even apart from prediction, this continuum of yours, with emotions at one end and the cognitive self at the other, still has a serious problem. As I said before, it allows you to excuse everybody's behaviour. I've told you, I'm a psychiatrist, not a judge or a theologian. I'm not interested in blame. Dennis, why are you crying? Dennis, why? Do you know why? Wouldn't it be a relief, even for a moment, to be free of blame? Do you blame yourself for all that has happened to you? You haven't heard the half of it. Right, we're up to chapter 4. I'm going to stop here because uploading issues on YouTube with my iPhone is laborious. And crazy making. It's very stressful doing this channel now that I don't have my laptop, which would upload much quicker and without inducing as much stress, but it's no longer functioning. So shit happens, people of Earth. I got the poverty blues and my blue suede shoes, and I'm doing the wiggle and the jiggle, and I'm not giving out any fucks because that's how I roll, babies. But yes, I may be back. I'm feeling energized. I may be back with chapter 4 shortly. I'll just start uploading this and see how we go. So stay safe in the storm if you live in Brisbane or Queensland, and stay wild, stay happy, stay electric, universe. But not too electric so that you get struck by lightning, because that would be most unpleasant. Bye for now, people of Earth.